right. Well, we're on the air.
All right, everybody. After a couple months hiatus, we're back with Of Mice and Men. Unfortunately, my co-host Fernando, he's on to bigger and better things. So I'm just changing the format of the podcast a little bit. So instead of having a co-host, I will be the host of this show, and every week I'm gonna try to have a new episode with a new co-host, basically somebody that I can bounce ideas off. Because, again, the idea of this podcast, I've explained it so many times, is just for knowledge. So I usually do the whole thing, but we're just going to jump right into it. So this right here is my one of my college fellows. This is Dan.
How y'all doing?
This is
pleasure.
This is fellow filmmaker,
Yep.
fellow artiste, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
We're currently studying at DCC together, Dutchess Community College. We're both filmmakers. Me and Dan were familiar with each other, but we became friends kind of based off our mutual love of film and basically just different types of things that we like. And I saw Dan's film that was featured in the Com Show recently. If you guys didn't see that, do you know the website name or where they can find it?
I believe they should be uploaded on the YouTube channel What the Falcon. It's like an archive for projects that were featured in the Com Show, but not yet. I believe this Wednesday, May 6th, it's in the New Paltz Film Festival. So legally, if it's in a film festival, you can't post it on any public domains. Yeah, because they want it to be just for the festival.
Okay.
But yeah, soon enough, by the end, maybe July-ish, it'll be on YouTube. Way before July.
Okay.
Within maybe even late May.
Okay.
But yeah, it was definitely my newest and best work. I had a blast working on it. I worked on it with another fellow filmmaker who goes here, who is graduating. His name's Robert Yoli.
He should be on the cast
soon.
soon.
Yeah. It would have been great if he was a third person here, but I don't think he might be around. Who knows? But as far as we know, he is not present.
He's indispensed.
Yeah, indispensed. So yeah, Don't Open the Door. That is the name of the film. Did you want me to
Yeah, so Dan, why don't you just go on to a little more about what the film was, your filmmaking. So let's just start. So what's the film about?
Yeah, so Don't Open the Door. It's about a young kid, young teenager. All hope is lost. Post-apocalyptic in a setting in which it's a zombie apocalypse with a scary twist where the zombies can imitate humans, and I don't want to even call them zombies. They're mainly kind of maybe they may not even be undead. They're just a new species that people think they're zombies at first, but really they're just mimics, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's based off of a short film that I had previously made a year prior, last year, spring 2025. It was called John Help Me. And that one, you saw, I made a little edit of it that you watched. Yeah. And John Help Me was a more comedic, and it was the kind of short film where it starts off kind of found footage and it follows three friends that are becoming YouTubers during the zombie apocalypse. I say that in quotations because, of course, they're not zombies, but these kids they don't know that yet, and they're not taking the threat serious. And
so kind of like Fear the Walking Dead, almost.
Yeah, I haven't watched that show. Is that how it is?
So Fear the Walking Dead is a prequel to Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So and then it bridges the gap, so it becomes co-occurring running.
Okay. So.
But originally, it basically shows because you know how in the original Walking Dead show, Rick Grimes, he wakes up after the coma, so it bridges the gap between there. So you see one guy who's going through drug withdrawal during the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. So kind of like that, humanizing the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah. But in John Help Me, the one that Don't Open the Door was based off of, it it's comedic, then it turns serious over within 5 seconds, and that's something I really like. And Don't Open the Door was a big step for me because instead of starting comedic and kind of earning the audience's trust with a lightheartedness and then kind of going into a serious mode, Don't Open the Door immediately opens with a serious tone, and it kind of demands the respect early on, which is something that I've been afraid to do because that means that the audience really has to take your film serious from the start, and that's a big risk, and you have to make sure that you open it accordingly, and you really set the tone from the start within the first few seconds. And I don't know about you. I think that opening was great. Yeah,
It was
the first 10, 20 seconds.
Great cold open, I thought. Just like that. It immediately grabs you, it grips you, like you're immediate and I think it helps that your cinematography is so on point you just because it doesn't look like, you know how, like, all right, so there's a moniker around student filmmakers, right? There's, like, you know, the trial and tribulation and, like, you know, always being broke. And I mean, part of it is true, but there's also, like, there's a lot of talent in the film industry and there's a lot of young talent. And, like, I feel like that moniker, it gives us a bad name, especially when you got, like, directors like Quentin Tarantino up in there that make us look kind of pretentious. And, so the goal of this is just kind of break that mold just so that we're people who really love film and media as like a medium. And it's really what we love and, like, what we want to do. But going back to what I was saying, like, your film is just your work, because of your editing, it elevates it to the point where I took it serious because I'm still a pretty beginner. Like, sometimes I look at my work and I'm like, this looks very amateur. I feel like people are going to lose interest in it very quickly. So, like, with your work, like you said, it demands the respect of the audience from the get-go because it's like, immediately you're like, what's going on? Because it draws you in. Right. Because, like, they only see you, but then you hear the other guy from the voice and you're like, who the fuck is that? What's going on? And, like, the idea that you never reveal, like, who the zombie is. Right. Spoiler alert, but you never reveal what the creature looks like. Right. I love that because it kind of goes back to, like, that old style of filmmaking where, like, you had, like, the Freak of the Week, but it was so, like, with Ron Sterling in The Twilight Zone, where you had the Freak of the Week, but it was so budget restricted that they would do things because of the budget, but they ended up just working so well for writing. Yeah. Like how, like, you just added to, like, that's horror 101. You can't show, and once you show the monster, the buildup is gone. Right. So, like, you not showing the monster, the whole, it just pays up. Like, where is he? Where is he? I want to see.
Not showing the real. You know, I'm sure everybody picked up on this. Obviously, in Don't Open the Door. Spoiler alert. I opened the door. I opened the door, and it turns out that there is no monster outside. There is no zombie, and really what I pulled from it, there's actually a very clear message that you can take away, which I think is what something all short films should have is a message, because at the end of the day, we're all storytellers, and we will all want to share a perspective on life with our stories and our films. And the perspective I'm sharing is that, to backtrack, he opens the door, nothing's there. And he obviously thought something was there. He was trapped for so long. He was about to, end everything. He was about to kill himself. He was about to shoot himself. And his subconscious, after being alone for so long, kind of realized that, hey, there are better odds of survival leaving this place than there is staying in here. And he may have believed all along that there really wasn't anybody outside the door, and he was just kind of in denial in a way, or maybe it was a very vivid hallucination, and that's what made him believe it, which it was a hallucination, and it can even be interpreted as like maybe he did pull the trigger, maybe this is him moving on, you know what I mean, to the afterlife, leaving that room, but I don't believe so. But the real message is like, sometimes you can't rely. He was relying on an external force to save him, and that external force, him believing that external force was there, forced him to get out of his comfort zone. But then after realizing that the external force didn't actually exist, he was already out of his comfort zone, and he was able to move on. And that could be a lot of things. That could be it could be a person in your life that that you thought would like a parental figure or a mentor figure that just pushes you, that isn't actually gonna be there for the rest of your life, but then you end up being different after it's all said and done, and you being able to take that lesson and carry it forward throughout your life. That's really the message that I was looking to share with Don't Open the Door. And it really just clicked, and I really think that it's a very coherent message to take away. And I wrote it all in, it really all came to me. I wrote it all in one night, which I don't recommend as a writer. I think I should have maybe, I think it came out really, really good. I don't even know what I would change if I were to change anything. But ideally, you wouldn't want to just shoot after one draft. You'd want to, go... You wanted to go through multiple renditions and iron out the wrinkles and really get it set in stone. But as short as it was, I think that's okay. You know, as we saw, I don't think there's any regrets with the writing. At least I think the writing was as good as I personally could have done it. You know, I'm no pro. I'm a writer, but not an insanely good one yet. You know, still, this is only my third semester at Dutchess, and I've written before, but you know, I believe that I still have a lot to work on when it comes to my writing. But yeah, there's definitely a message, and the main thing I'm proud of is just the overall quality. You know, it's definitely like I shot it in 4K, nicest camera I've ever used, and I couldn't have done it without again Rob Yoli. He helped me shoot it. He offered to help, and obviously, I was planning on doing it all on my own because I did not want to rely on people, and that's a big thing. Like it's a lot of trust with film because film is a collaborative effort, and it's a collaborative art form, and so you can't do it without at least one other person, and it takes a very creative idea to do it with just two people. And he offered to help, and I was like, if he's volunteering, I might as well take it because I was going into it with the mindset of like. No one's gonna help me. No one's like I don't want to rely on people. But
I think that's like the hardest thing to accept as a filmmaker is like, not like it definitely is how like. Try not to say like as much anymore. It's akin to something like it's like a kitchen, right? Like a kitchen, like there's a French chain of command. Everything has to like operate a certain way, or else everything's gonna go to shit. And it's kind of like who's who on a film crew. You know that quintessential class you take in your introductory comm seminar, when it's like you have to learn who everyone is, and like it is so incredibly difficult to do a film by yourself because it's like you're just a one-man crew. Like, how can you light the whole scene? How can you sound design the whole scene? How can you be the DP? How like it's just there's so many different variables that go into it. So like being able to make a film on your own, that's a feat. And like, but like I think that Robert's input helped you a lot in the sense where like it added
100%.
It added a little bit more like because film should be a collaborative effort in my opinion. Like there's always the director and the director's vision. But the director, that's in the name, is to direct. It's just to move the film in a certain way. Usually when you think of the director, you think he's just, that's his movie. Not necessarily. He's just, it's everyone's movie. He's just directing which way the movie's taking.
Right, yeah. He's conveying what he wants to happen, and everybody else really makes it happen, you know. But yeah, Rob was great. He definitely... one thing I learned is that the FX30 which is the camera we use. We shot it on the Sony FX30 camera, which is the TV production club's. It's designated for club use only. And him being the president for the semester that it was being used for Don't Open the Door, you know, that made it like him being directly involved. The president of the club being directly involved made it a short film that the club made. So we got to use it, and it's definitely a beast of a camera. You know, definitely a beast. And
Why don't you explain some of the specs on that?
Honestly, I don't even know like what. I'm not even good with cameras, bro. Like I don't. That the one thing I learned is that I have a lot to learn with using cameras. I have one camera. It's the Canon EOS R50, which is I just know the name. I don't even know what EOS means. I don't know what the R50 means. I just know that's the one I have. I don't know. You know, I don't know the specs. I know the one I have. It's smaller. It's lighter. It can overheat. The FX30 does not have those problems. It has more weight to it. And the FX30 is a light camera for cameras. Cameras can be heavy, man. Really
especially
heavy.
Film cameras.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you have the Black Magic that weighs like 20, 25 pounds. It's insane. I don't want to use that. I'd rather use something I don't care about the quality. If a camera weighs 25 pounds, I'm not lugging it around. It's just a liability at that point. Yeah. So
unless it's like imperative to your creative vision.
But. Yeah. Like one thing about that one Blackmagic camera, it can shoot in what's called RAW, which means, you know, it captures the most amount of data possible, and that can allow you to like color grade it really, really well, and like, you know, really make that vivid image come to life. But I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm at a level where I can really appreciate in shooting in RAW, at least with a camera that big. If, say, the Sony FX30 weighed like 2 or 3 more pounds, but it could shoot in RAW, dude, I totally use that thing. I totally shoot in RAW. Because that's like so, that gives your film so much more quality potential. You know, a lot more to admire on the screen, a lot more to take in.
And that's what it goes back to, like the rules of canon, where it's like there's there's morality, there's traditionality, there's repetition. There's a bunch. Those are like the quintessential rules of filmmaking. Any camera that can help you get a better grasp and an easier understanding of those tools is the camera that you want to use. Just because, like, the term user friendly is not necessarily a term I like, because there's a learning curve to everything. Right. So if you go for the user friendly thing, you're demeaning your trade. So never be afraid to get over the learning curve, and never be afraid to just jump into it head on, because as a filmmaker and as anyone who's an artist or anything in life, you have to be able to elevate your craft if you don't want to stay stagnant. And I really like what you have to say about, like, because you know all the details, like, more as to what I can. But I have another question. So, like, when you were making Doors, right, or Don't Open the Door,
yeah.
I just think, was there, like, a deeper allegory, like something you were going through in your life that, because it's a pretty, like you were talking about it, but, like, there's a lot of allegories in it. Like,
right.
one could, it could just be, like, not even sci-fi. It could be psychological horror or something. In my opinion, just because, like, you do a very good job of keeping it open-ended.
Yeah.
In the sense of where, like, the story can be interpreted one of many ways.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say there was something, like, nothing tragic, obviously, nothing to, make me really put a gun to my head and almost shoot myself. Absolutely not. But something definitely made me sit down and write that thing in one night. Something definitely lit a fire under my ass to really want to produce a film that really gave a message, that really conveyed how I was feeling. And the way I was feeling was just, in the film, the character I portray, he's obviously so disappointed. At the end, he's so disappointed, but he can't change it. What's happened, and I'd say at that time in my life when I was writing it, which is only a couple months ago, but at the time when I was writing it, I was definitely a disappointed person, and it's all about, art is just, art can be emotion, on the page, on the canvas, whatever medium you choose to do it in, and I was definitely disappointed over something at the time, and I think that Don't Open the Door was really like an image from beginning to end of that whole experience. And after, Don't Open the Door ends, that whole thing, that whole arc, that ended, that marked the ending of the arc in my life. And I realized that I was disappointed over something, but I had learned a valuable lesson in it, and, disappointment is it's very important, and it's very important to learn that, you have yourself. You know what I mean? And you'll always be able to come back to yourself. And that's, like you saw in the film, there was really no one there. You know what I mean? And he realized that, and he was like, I'm already outside, make the most of it. Because he gained the confidence to to open that door and go outside, because he was already prepared to die as it was, and he had learned that. And so that's what really stuck with me, is that with the wanting this thing, he made up some ground that he wouldn't have made up otherwise if he didn't want this thing. Yeah, if that makes sense. I'm still leaving it very open to interpretation.
Yes, but I think that could be the most like easily interpretable ending that most people would come away with.
Yeah.
I took it more as, like, it was an allegory for, like, in my opinion, it felt to me like it was an allegory for the struggles that everybody goes through in their brain. Yeah. And it seemed like the whole film, you just personified, like, right, you used the zombie as, like, a personification of almost your own anxiety and your own disappointment.
Yeah.
And, like, basically you opening the door was, like, you going to confront it and accepting it. And, like, there's this saying, it's like, right, because I used to struggle with this all the time, like, I still do every day. It's like, I had a rough you guys have seen in previous episodes, I had a rough youth, and for me, like, nowadays, it's just hard to, like, not be overeager and, like, not want to, like, I want to connect with people so much that I tend to alienate people because I'm just so upfront. So, like, there's this saying, and it's like, if you treat your brain like a garden, right, and you plant flowers in there, and, like, because if you plant a pretty garden, people are going to want to come in your garden and smell the flowers and things like that. But at the end of the day, right, even if people don't want to come into your garden and sit in your garden and smell the flowers, you'll still be left with a beautiful garden.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So it's just, there's a lot that films help people understand, especially somebody like me who's on the spectrum. I can't necessarily look at a textbook and be like, this makes sense, because sometimes words, I'm dyslexic, they don't register in my brain.
They don't absorb.
They don't absorb.
Yeah,
So like,
totally.
for somebody like me, I could look at a movie and take the profoundness out of it and apply that to my life instead of just reading a self-help book.
Yeah.
Movies could be like self-help.
Yeah. They're a way to express yourself.
Exactly.
And to learn visually and in every way. Better than a book. Yeah. Some people like books. Some people like films. It's not about really your level of intelligence. It's just about your creative your what's the word I'm looking for? Damn.
Aptitude?
No, not aptitude. Preference. There it is. Your creative preference. And yeah. And obviously we've realized that film is our preference to express and to observe art and the way we feel. I love it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because, like, here at DCC, we're not necessarily considered film majors. We're communications and media majors.
Right.
So that goes back to what we're saying about, like, how books, films, TV, that's all forms of media.
Mm-hmm.
So here at DCC, we're not necessarily just learning film. We're learning, like, how to write, how to read, basically, like, you're educated. Because, like, people get so... This is why I'm not a big fan of Quentin Tarantino as a film director. Because he just takes film and he makes it something vile and just not really great. And, like, there's nothing that you could, like... There are some movies where, like, you could see, like, he's trying to find something deeper. But, like, he just throws in drugs, women, and, like, violence and, like, all these, like... I'm not saying Quentin Tarantino's movies are bad by film-making standards, because they're phenomenal by film-making standards.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to bring a new wave of film where, like, film can be very therapeutic. Like, if you've ever seen, like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know. Have you ever seen that?
Nah, man.
Okay, so, basically, that's a movie about breaking up and about, like, coming to terms with one's loss. I saw that during a breakup, and it was like, number one, why would I do that to myself? But, but number two is, like, it gave me a lot of closure.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, it kind of goes back to what, like, Don't Open the Door was about. It's, like, acceptance and closure and finding peace with oneself.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the message of today's episode is, like, who are you? What do you want? And, like, I always think about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Have you ever seen that show?
I love that show.
Yeah, where Iroh is talking to Zuko, and he's in the prison cell, and he's like, it's time for you to start asking the deeper questions.
Who are you?
Who are you?
What do you want?
And what do you want? And, like, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean by, like, screw something like Inglourious Bastard or something. Like, you could have Avatar: The Last Airbender, like, that's teaching morals, and that's teaching, like, life lessons, like, bro, I didn't have, like, a great relationship with my family, like, and Naruto taught me more life lessons than most of my family members did. Yeah, but I have another question about Open the Door. What was the editing process and the post-production process like?
Dude, yeah. So I was editing it before production had officially wrapped. I started, so it took us not 4 days, it was 4 days of shooting. And 3 of those days were with Rob, in the basement. And the 4th day, it was just myself with my own camera. I don't know if you noticed. Other people noticed, which kind of bothers me, but it was filmed on a different camera.
Yeah,
and
the last shot when you go outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was noticeable.
Yeah. So that, but it was in a different environment, so it worked. But, yeah, so I started editing it. I used Adobe Premiere, and we captured it with external sound. Just for best sound quality. Anybody into film or video making, narrative filmmaking out there, if you have a film with dialogue, I implore you to use an external microphone because it will capture super, super clean sound. And that's what we did. And you heard, it's just, you don't, like I told you this before, you don't notice good audio, you notice bad audio. And Don't Open the Door had pretty good audio, probably the best audio I've had. You don't hear the camera, like little motors in the camera going off. You don't hear anything you don't need to hear. You only hear what's in the story. You only hear what's diegetic, and that's easier said than done. It takes a lot of control, and it's all about filmmaking and all that. It's all about control, lighting, audio, the settings on the camera. It's all about control, and it's all about intention. And so, yeah. So the post-production, I found it. This is a very specific thing, but obviously recording sound externally, you have to sync it up in post, and there's something just so satisfying about replacing that crappy camera audio with that clean, crisp external microphone audio. It was just so nice to hear.
So satisfying.
That compared with the 4K resolution. So nice.
It
was
makes
so
you feel like a fucking film.
I know exactly. It was so nice, man. And and editing it, like I enjoy editing so much. So many people I hear like they hate it. It's grueling. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it more than production because everything's already filmed, and if you do a good job in production, buttering. I mean,
Just like
but
icing on the cake.
editing is silky smooth like butter. Like you got it. It's perfect. You have to make sure that you follow every step from the writing process to the filming process, through the filming process, all the way to picture wrap, or production wrap. And editing, I thought was really, really fun. And I cut so we recorded, we recorded everything. We recorded Rob's voiceover, who voiced Robert again, who was the one that shot it. He was also the voice on the other side of the door. We recorded that actually in this very studio, in this very booth. And we recorded it just into Premiere, and he just did a voiceover, and I messed with the audio, made it muffled, made it on the left ear and the right ear depending on which shot, and we recorded multiple takes of that. This was already once everything was mostly cut together, like the film was very, very close to completion, but still before I filmed that last part of Me Outside. The last part I filmed of Me Outside was very it was the last thing I did. It wasn't close to the deadline though. I finished it pretty ahead of schedule because I was helping edit another film called Mime Duel, which is fun. You saw that.
So fan. I'm gonna link. I can't.
You can't.
I can't because like you said earlier, you're going to film festivals, so I can't necessarily just.
I don't think Mime Duel. I don't know if he's gonna enter that because
should.
The deadline for New Paltz has already passed. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unless he wants to submit it to Woodstock or somewhere, but. Yeah, and Don't Open the Door is actually the first one that I'm submitting to a film festival, so I'm excited. It's this Wednesday, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm excited.
Is it free to go?
I think so.
I might have to go.
You might pull up, yeah. That'll be really fun. But yeah, the whole editing process though, it's just, I thought it was so fun. It's so fun seeing your things come to life just on the screen. That's where you really piece all together and see the hard work start to pay off. You see the image you captured.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and there's a part in it where I smack my face, right?
Yeah, I remember
that. That we recorded that one shot, and I noticed when I was editing it there was a tripod in the background. Oof. I know, and I was like, I have to smack my face again? Damn it! But thankfully we had already had another night of shooting scheduled because we didn't wrap after that one day, and so I was like, yeah, we have to reshoot. Another thing, if you are making a short film over the course of a couple weeks, I recommend looking over your footage and cutting it together as before a production even wraps, so it's a reshoot. In this case, that worked out in our favor. And
I think that's like a non-negotiable. Honestly.
Yeah.
If you want your work to come out good, anyway.
Yeah, and so I noticed okay, reshoot this, reshoot that, get this shot because this will work better. I noticed the shot where I had to smack my face. There was a tripod in the background, and so. It turns out though we reshot we got the shot we needed that next night, but the audio that you hear is from the original shot. It's not the same shot, but it synced up beautifully, and so that is the audio we used in the final film, and it worked out really well. Yeah, I think that's what really sold it, the face smacking, and I was prepared to do it. I wrote the whole thing with just me playing, me in mind to play, just because with the lines I write, I have a certain delivery that I have in mind, as you write it. I'm sure every writer has this. And, in this case, I delivered it the way I pictured it. But that doesn't always happen. With Rob, the way he delivered his lines from behind the door, it was completely different than what I had imagined. Or not completely different, but I imagined it being, it's not always 100% of what you intend. But it always works. And I don't think that's a bad thing ever. But, I know... me and you have a film we're planning. You're the lead role.
Yeah.
It's called The Good Guy. So
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. That's gonna be really fun. And I already know, dude. There are lines that you're gonna say that are not gonna come out the same way I imagine them. But the fact is that I may have written that character, but bro, that's your character. You can adopt that. You're the actor. You're allowed to make it your own as long as it fits well in the scene. There's no cookie cutter way to deliver lines as an actor. I believe that whatever's in your head as a director does not, when it comes to visuals, cool, quality, cool, but when it comes to deliveries, I think you should leave that all up to the actors and let them, because that's where the film really gains its identity, not just from the head of the person writing it and directing it, but from everybody involved. It's a culmination of everybody's vision into one. I think that's what makes every film special. And I think that's what really also helped out to really bring it together was Rob gave his own creative side in there with his line deliveries, and I think it worked out really well. Yeah. So.
What time are we at? Oh,
31 minutes.
Would you look at that? All right, my friends. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I tried to give you guys because I read in the comments you guys said have a more story-centered, just a more focal point for what episode we talked about. So today I decided to stick to one topic. Let me know if you guys like the split topics, so where we talk about multiple topics, or you guys like this episode where we talk about just one specific topic. Honestly, I kind of like this better. It gave a more fluid conversation. But don't be afraid to give us comments to talk about or give me whoever in the comments to talk about, because I'm very open to hear what you guys want to talk about, because this is a social events, current events film podcast. It's basically like fucking Mario Party, dog. We just talk about whatever. But again, this has been Of Mice and Men with David Song. This is my co-host,
Dan Bernhardt.
And this is Of Mice and Men signing off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. And remember, do better than you did yesterday.